Hi peeps, Junction 6 here. Today's Sunday, so we're talking about the tale of Jenny and Screech again. Now if you haven't seen it, there is a link in the description. Please go watch the full thing and then come back to this, because obviously there are spoilers in this. They've also put links to all the other characters, Jenny, Screech and all the other main characters which I've talked about. There's only two characters I haven't really mentioned, and that's the doctor and the surgeon who attended to Violet. There's not really a lot to say about them. We don't know if it was a male or female doctor. We don't know if the surgeon was male or female. All we know is the doctor was in a state of shock and the surgeon got called in. That's all we know. Maybe Ren will do a tale about them, who knows, in the future. The main reason I'm doing this one is about the introductions and how the introductions tell you the whole story before the story even happens. I've not seen any other YouTuber or reaction person pick this up at all. The very first one, Jenny's tale, is quite basic, but as the story progresses, the introductions become very, very important and more complex. You'll see what I mean. So we'll start off with Jenny's tale. I've stopped it here because I think that sounds a lot like God Bless Ye Merry Gentlemen, the Christmas Carol. So I think that's when this is set. I think it is Christmas Eve. Just to make it even more tragic, let's make it Christmas Eve. There is another little Easter egg there. That kind of, on the door, looks a bit like a Christmas tree. So I definitely think that we are looking at Christmas Eve. Now this is looking from Jenny's point of view. She's walking along, the music's quite okay. And then it starts to get a bit creepy, then slows right down. And then she's turning and turning. So I think that spinning around is there to indicate turning and spinning round in Jenny's mind, trying to work out what's going on. And then of course we get the death of Jenny as he hits the door. Then he comes out with the trumpeters. This trumpeters could be symbolic of the cherubs who help the young children to heaven with their trumpets. And as you can see, he's looking into the sky all the time when he does that trumpeting. And then he does his cough. Now the cough is there to signify that's the end of the intro. We're now into the tale.
It was quite dark night.
By the time he gets round to doing Screech's tale, things have moved on. He's matured as an artist. He knows a bit more. He wants to do more with the introduction. So we're going to see that in Screech's tale. It starts off very, very sorrowful almost. This is the bit where he's outside just before he gets into Screech's tale and he's asking, where did Screech go? You know, this is really a sad bit. He's calling out in pain. And then of course he stands up and we get into this bit. It's a lot faster. This is where it's spinning around, knocking on the door. Where are you, Patrick? Patrick, help me. As you see, it's dark, it's red. He's come down the stairs. He's descended into hell. He's in despair. He doesn't know what to do. And then it slows right down to the final one note, which depicts the death of Screech. He then turns to the camera and starts to sing. As you can see from that, it's a lot longer than Jenny's introduction. Then, of course, we move on to Violet's introduction. By far the longest introduction of all of them, and probably the one which tells Violet's tale the best. It definitely tells the best out of all the three of them. So we'll look at Violet's. Starts off with this kind of almost sorrowful little melody. It's very quiet, very reflective. Obviously, this is the bit when he's sat at the edge of the bed before he does the rewind, and he's telling us about this poor girl who's in hospital, but we don't really know why. And then all of a sudden the tempo changes and we get this almost medieval minstrel type vibe about the music. It's like he's telling a story. Well, he is. He's telling Violet's backstory about how she was abused as a child, about how she moved out and ended up with Stevie as a boyfriend. Then, of course, we get into this tapping, as it's called, or shredding, where he's playing just the neck of the guitar. And it's very violent, very fast. This is obviously the bit in Violet's tale where Stevie is beating her up, basically, isn't it? This is tapping. It goes on too long. It's very uncomfortable. And then he comes into this. Notice his wide eyes. He's making his eyes big, like a baby's eyes, looking around at the new world which he's come into, or they've come into, as we know. And of course, the eerie sound is the ghostly sound, lamenting the departure of their mother. As we know, Violet dies. So as you can see from that, all of these intros actually tell the whole story before the story actually begins. I think that is quite genius of Ren to do that. I also want to talk about the camera work and how the camera work has progressed throughout the three tales. We start off with Jenny's tale, and it's quite basic camera work, really, isn't it? He basically just walks backwards as Ren walks towards him. There's a couple of close-ups, and that's basically it, really. There's not a lot of flair to the actual camera work. It is fairly basic. I wouldn't like to do it. It's well done to him for doing it. But then, as the tales progress, the camera work just gets better and better. Like in Screech's tale, you've got this, where he's actually, the camera's spinning around him to get that emotion in you, that feeling of disorientation and panic is just done by that pure camera work. Another thing he does is the walk past. In this, as he's coming up, he walks past Ren to get into the right position, exactly on time to face the blue lights. Now you are the policeman. The cameraman is the policeman. You, the viewer, become the policeman, looking at this guy, angry at, shouting at you, giving you abuse, and then suddenly you're the officer. The guy's coming towards you. He's like manic. He's an animal possessed. And what are you going to do? You're going to do what Richard did. And then, of course, you get the camera action of the bullets hitting him and the falling down. And then you get this brilliant walk by Ren. That walk was just perfection, because that is exactly how an officer would approach a body, I think. Brilliant. So by the time we get to Violet's tale, obviously the cameraman as well has learnt more and can do more. So we'll start off here with just the simple follow, but they're in a corridor. So this is going to be a difficult pass. He's got to do a walk past in this very, very narrow corner, which he manages to do with perfection. And then he's walking backwards now. we're getting a long pan view of Ren. We can even see the markers on the floor for Ren to be stood in, so he knew where he had to be to allow the cameraman to go past him. Now of course we get the walk. Now of course the camera guy is walking backwards, and now he's going upstairs backwards. Congratulations, mate, well done on that. Yet again he's in the perfect position, and he follows the gaze of Ren up into the heavens to get that reverb. Then it's straight into a close-up against the door. And now, of course, he's got to navigate through a door.
And he stands by a bedside.
So he's just inside the door now.
You fucking slut, I know you're up. And he pinches
now out of focus, in focus, close-up shot.
So he stays silent, things turn violent.
Then again he had to do a pass.
That's the sound of his fists when they fall like
and then he backs off, and more walking backwards for the rest of it. Brilliant camera work. I also believe that Ren used the same cameraman on all three of the tales, a guy called Samuel. So congratulations to him as well, because he helped make this masterpiece, no doubt about it. There'll be one more of these next week's, a final conclusion where I'm going to wrap everything up and talk about the future, not only for Ren but for the tales. Will they be added to? Because don't forget, this is an epic tragedy. Everybody must die.